You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
So, where I want to end it on is how would you begin a conversation with a graduate worker from a non-unionized campus, down here in Alabama? I know that there are some listening right now that that are going to be listening to the recording in the future that they work for literally, I know people that work for minimum wage, $7.25 an hour here in Alabama. Graduate workers, they have a bachelor's degree and they're working for minimum wage while paying to go to school. It's not like they get minimum wage on top of having a tuition scholarship. There are people that get minimum wage on top of paying tuition. I mean, it's insane. I don't know how, and it's crazy. But there are no unionized grad workers, officially unionized. There is some CWA minority union organizing at UA, but it's not, there's no big, even a large solidarity union presence at UA with the CWA. And so there are a lot of people that they want to do something, but they're scared because they know that labor law in this country is toothless. They've never seen it done here. Like the workers in Bessemer, for a lot of them, this is that's the best they can do. And so what if I lose it? How would you start a conversation with a worker like that?
I mean, I think that's the key thing, right? We all watch Bessemer very closely. I think we're watching the mine workers as well, right? I think it really starts with personal relationships is honestly the key, right? Very practically, I would say talk to the people in your department, right? Is there already a Graduate Student History Association or something? You use the organizations that exist that are not necessarily supposed to be union or political organization, and you bring up, you ask one another, what are your pressing issues? It's always wages, right? It's always, it starts with wages. This thing you said about poverty wages at the poverty wages, that's a real thing. The university says, oh, your apprentices, oh, you're so lucky to be here, you're so smart, this is the path to your great career. We all know that there's actually the entire academic job market, even for the sciences, has just collapsed into a flaming pile of crap. I think so. That's really a good place to start as well, is talking with your peers about where things are now. And for me, it's always really important to think about not what is the university that we have, but what is the university that we want, right? A university that we want that is not just focused on how much tuition it can raise, but a university that is focused on developing people's love of learning. Sorry, maybe that's corny. I'm a humanities person. And one where the people who are working there at every level feel supported. And so I think it always starts with these one-on-one conversations, right? And through these one-on-one conversations, you get to know other people, which is often the biggest hurdle. You're just I feel alone and scared and I don't know how to do this, right? And you start with those personal connections, you build that up, then you reach out, you see, oh, who else in my immediate area is doing this? Maybe, I think you were saying Auburn, maybe they have a solidarity union. You start a group chat with them, and then it spreads, and you recognize that there's going to be unevenness across departments. There's going to be unevenness, in a state system throughout the different universities. But you don't let the fact that the man says no be your no, right? You recognize your own power in there, and you fight, and it's a long fight, but building those relationships, I think, is just always at what it is at the base.
Yeah, and I would add, excuse me just a second. Helicopters, man. I think it would be really easy to dismiss both our demands and our wins as specific to New York City. But for myself, I grew up between Texas and Louisiana, and so I have a lot of empathy and love for those who are organizing in states that are predominantly conservative, in right-to-work states. And what I've learned over the past decade, moving between New England, the Northeast, and rural Texas, is that bosses here are bosses there. They're bosses everywhere. There are differences in the cost of living. But at the same time, we're graduate students. I'm a historian at the end of the day, but I can do a little bit of math and I can figure out, using the MIT living wage calculator, what it means for me to have a living wage. Yes, it would be a completely different thing for a graduate worker in Alabama to ask for a $30 an hour wage. The cost of living there is different. It's totally different living in Manhattan. But at the end of the day, I'm sure the percentage difference between the lowestly paid employees and the provosts, the deans, and the university presidents, that's still a huge percentage-wise difference. And so what's happening in New York can happen adjusted to the local conditions in Alabama. It just means thinking about what you as a graduate worker need and what you think you deserve to work with dignity, and not what your boss or your employer dictates that is.
I just wanted to jump in and say I think it's so important what y'all have discussed in terms of having a positive vision for your work, for your workplace, in this case a university. And I think that's something, it's one thing to fight against something, to fight against abusive practices of your boss or to fight against low wages, but to have those conversations and relationships you discuss to develop a vision of what it could be. What would it look like if we were in charge for a day, and could actually develop the type of workplace or university that we'd like to see. I think that is sometimes overlooked because it's so easy to get mad at all the stupid stuff our bosses and politicians do. But we can't overlook this idea of actually having positivity and dreaming a little bit that things could be better. And I think, like you said, you start with those one-on-one conversations and building relationships, because otherwise, how do you know what that looks like without those conversations and actually talking to each other? So I really think that that's a great thing, and I think that probably helped you guys in your strike efforts, that y'all had a positive vision, and it wasn't just against the administration at NYU, but it was for a better NYU.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of the teachers unions lately have been doing as well. I think it was the Chicago Teachers Union, that released a report titled "The Schools Our Students Deserve," and it sounds like y'all did a very similar thing. And I think that's like Adam said, that's so important.
And that helps with the community connections and the student support that y'all had. I mean, it really, So I really applaud y'all for setting some examples that I hope other folks can learn from, including folks down here in Alabama, because you're right, you can do it here. Some of the specific people may be different, some of the specific numbers may be different, but the struggles are very, very much the same.
Absolutely. And I want to, we're at a really exciting stage right now, having won our contract, but also before the fall semester, which for most of us on the academic calendar means like a ramping up of what we have to do. But I want to plug really quickly our website, which has the contact information for GSOC, because if there are graduate workers listening to this show or who in the future want to be in touch with us or to access some of the public materials that we have on our website that help explain how we came to the various demands that we did, that website is makingabetterNYU.com. It's also available if you Google GSOC, GSOC space NYU. Excuse me, I gave the wrong website earlier. It's makingabetterNYU.org, not .com, .org. And that can be a resource for people who are in this fight in the educational sector elsewhere in the country.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it. Thanks again for coming on, y'all. That's I think that's really important. And what y'all have been able to do, I think it is something that can be replicated here, and I think it's something that's so impressive, being able to build and sustain a union that's able to fight for good demands and to win so many of them for their members and for their communities and for their schools and for their students. So I applaud your efforts. No doubt y'all are spending. I know that Adam and I both know from our union work, there's so much work that goes in beyond for y'all, beyond your studies and beyond your job. You probably spend almost as much time organizing for the union, and so thank you for your service.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and for having us. I mean, we're so excited to be able to share, to be able to build these connections. And we really mean it. Reach out to us and we will talk to you because we love this stuff.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell from y'all talking and that there's a real energy and a passion for each other and for your community. And I think that's something that is so important to have as a unionist. If you don't care about your brothers and sisters in your community, you're not going to be very effective as a union.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think that care, for me at least, my sense of it is it comes from a feminist place. So I would also characterize it a lot of the work that this union has done has come from a feminist place. And I think community building and care are feminist practices. And that's why what Lee was saying, which is it's not local to New York, it can happen anywhere because communities can be built anywhere. Yeah.
That's right, and I appreciate you mentioning that. We didn't get into it really, but so much of education industry, so to speak, is predominantly female, and I think it's not a stretch to say that plays a role in how administration responds to worker issues. The patronizing attitudes that y'all experienced at the bargaining table is something that we hear about regularly with any predominantly female profession.
Well, I mean, no doubt any predominantly female, there's going to be a difference there. But the mine workers, during their negotiations, they said that the lead negotiator for the company said that they get paid too much. And remember, these are the lowest paid union miners in the country, and she reckons they get paid too much. So, Arundhati, Sarah, Lee, thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Y'all have been great, and look forward to maybe talking to y'all in the future. I don't doubt that we're going to be hollering at you again soon. So, thanks so much. Y'all have a good one. And folks, we'll be right back to wrap it up. This is the Valley Labor Report.
You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, you can search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments and release them throughout the week. We upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So to see if we are on your listening platform of choice, you can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. We've got a website where you can buy our fantastic union-made hats and union-made stickers. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.org and get those. And finally, if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/thevalleylaborreport.